that from a Giants player. I mean, he looked the part, 452 feet, 112 miles off the bat from Jorge Soler. So there was some good stuff, but still some at-bats that just kind of left you perplexed, and some approaches, especially early in the game. The first inning was just 7 pitches from Glasnow. And there was a lot of those looking strikeouts tonight. So still a lot of things that could be corrected, a lot of things that could be better about this Giants offense. The bullpen was a little bit better tonight. Obviously, Shohei Ohtani doing what he does. But that was just the first home run a left-hander had hit against Taylor Rogers since 2021. And that's how potent this Dodger lineup is. If you get through Betts and you get to Ohtani, who hadn't been a hot hitter, he's still going to do things like that. And then you got Freddie Freeman after that. So you almost have to kind of just tip your hat to something like that. But the Giants, multiple times in this game, they made it close again. Conforto with that big 2 RBI hit in the 6th inning to make it 4-3. And in that moment of the game, it just felt like the Dodgers were in control. It was a foregone conclusion. But Conforto has been red hot. Already has 9 RBIs this year. And that was a big moment in the game. But then the bullpen came on for the Dodgers. Jorge Soler made it a 1-run game again, but it just was not enough. And that, I think, has been a phrase we can say the last couple of games for the Giants. Just not enough. And now the Giants will come home, play their home opener after a day off tomorrow. And we can kind of look back at this opening road trip, and there's really kind of 2 ways to look at this. Are you a glass half full or glass half empty? And I think there's some reason to understand both of those ways of looking at things. It is a little bit early to kind of generate an opinion about, well, we need to make these changes. We need to see some more results from the bullpen. It's just 7 games. But I can understand where there's some frustration because Giants fans have been asking the Giants to make some moves in the offseason, spend the money, get the free agents in. And they did that this year. So the expectations are a little bit higher now. And this opening road trip is a very good way to test those expectations. You go against San Diego, you go against the Dodgers. Are there 2 tougher back-to-back division opponents that anybody in baseball could face on the road to start the year? Maybe if you go into the NL East and you have to face maybe the Phillies or the Braves, but those 2 teams are expected to be very, very good. The Giants are expected to be very, very good, and I think they will be. I just think it's not the best reflection in the first 7 games of the season for this team. So a lot to talk about here tonight about this Giants loss, a 5-4 loss to the Dodgers. Another, good start from Kyle Harrison. Remember, he's 22 years old, and there was some shaky moments for him tonight, but he was using that changeup a little bit more, and when he can elevate that fastball with some effectiveness, that's a 1-2 pitch combination that's going to be really, really successful for him. And I thought that throwing that changeup a little bit more was good for him. It ended up being that the 9th place hitter, Miguel Rojas, of all people, was a player that hurt him. And he pitched through that 2nd inning with some of those command problems, but he bounced back nicely. And I think overall, a good start for Kyle Harrison and a lineup that's hostile. It can be tough for a young player, but ultimately the 22-year-old in his 2nd start of the season. We got a lot to talk about tonight. I think we can kind of dive into the opening road trip. We can go into the bullpen. We can go into the Logan Webb starts, how the Dodgers countered him yesterday with the high pitch count. You split 2 games in San Diego. One of those is a spot start for the Giants, and now they don't have to use that with the day off tomorrow. I thought the approaches from some players in that San Diego series were better, although you see a lot more of those sacrifice flies. You're not gonna beat teams like the Dodgers with a bunch of sacrifice flies, and you have to hit more home runs. And I think this team can do that. And then it was kind of missed opportunities, especially yesterday. It felt like that was the game that the Giants had to get against the Dodgers bullpen that was going all day in that game, but didn't take advantage of that opportunity. And then today, kind of more of the same for the Giants, and ultimately it ends up being a 2-5 trip. There were some more bright spots, though, on that road trip. We can talk about the Hicks start. Keaton Wynn was great in a big-time type of situation for him. Landon Roop out of the bullpen was very, very good. So there are some bright spots. I think the questions we have to ask ourselves now after the first 7 games of the season, what do you want to see from this team in the first homestand? All right, they've played 2 tough road opponents. They've seen the Dodgers once. They've seen the Padres once. They're going to see the Padres again coming up here, and then they're not going to see them until September. Think about that for a second. The Giants will play 7 of the first 10 games against San Diego, and then 6 in a 10-day stretch starting from September 6th. That's wild. Think about the difference and the changes that can happen between those two. It makes it all the more important that the Giants come out and play some better ball at home and trying to get back on the right foot. Because this is a team that's going to win some ball games. They're going to hit some home runs. They're going to have some solid pitching. The bullpen should be pretty good this year. It just is not in the first 7 games. So we got a lot to talk about here tonight. 808 KNBR. Phone lines are open. If you'd like to talk about any of that, I'd love to. I guess I should explain who I am, being that this is the first time I'm hosting Sports Phone KNBR. I'm Justin Allegri. I was in the first year at oh yes, the applause, excellent. I needed that to boost the morale. First year at Cal as the broadcaster for the Bears this year. Took over after Joe Starkey had 48 years on the air. 48 years on the air for Joe Starkey. He's a fabulous man. Took over football at Cal this year, did the basketball season as well. But I think the more important and the more appropriate thing is that I've been calling San Jose Giants games since 2015 with my good friend Joe Rizzo, who's excellent. He's been on a lot of the San Francisco Giants calls now, been a regular in the booth there, but he's been at it since 2006. I've been there since 2015. So a lot of these Giants prospects and players that we're seeing on the field, I've seen in San Jose. And if you want to talk Giants prospects and kind of what's next and maybe who's going to be making their debut this year or some of the young players that could be making an impact, let's go there as well. I'd love to talk. Again, 808 KNBR is the phone line. We're open until midnight. And let's go to the phones. Our first call tonight has been waiting for quite a while. Steve in L.A. Steve, you're on KNBR.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fed up with the Dodgers.
How long have you been saying that, though?
Coming. I've been in L.A. all my life, but I've been a Giant fan all my life.
Well, good for you. That's great.
I just want to know if the Giants should go out and get that first baseman from Toronto. I don't know his name. I forgot his name, but the first baseman on the...
You talking about Guerrero?
Yes.
That would be fabulous. Trust me. I think all Giants fans would love Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I think not that the Expos, the Blue Jays would make him available. Look, anytime you can get a premier, perennial all-star, power home run type guy, yeah, sure. But that's just not going to be an option for the Giants at this point. Right. Would you like that? Sure.
Hit when he needs to.
Yeah, I think if you want to say a profile in that type of hitter, sure. But the Giants.
One other question: don't the Dodgers play the Giants up in San Francisco later this month?
They play the Dodgers and Giants play one series in April, one series in May, one series in June, and one series in July. So you get to see them
over with each other by the time before they even get near September.
Well, that's the difference there.
They only play 12 a season now.
Yeah, that's the difference there. They
haven't played the Diamondbacks yet either.
That's right. But how different would you feel if the first 2 games or 2 series of the year on the road were the Rockies and the Diamondbacks? You maybe go to Coors Field and hit a bunch of home runs.
They would have beaten the Rockies, but not the Diamondbacks. The way the Diamondbacks lost to the Yankees today. Yeah. But we got a long way to go. So yeah. I think the Giants are going to – they just have to prove they can beat the Dodgers.
Yeah, well, that's everybody in the National League. Steve, thanks for the call. We appreciate it.
Can I ask you
It's true. It's true. The Dodgers, you almost have to put them in a separate category, right? They have 3 MVP candidates or players that have won MVPs that start their lineup. You can pencil in the top 4 in their lineup every day if you want. Mookie Betts, after today's game, Mookie Betts, he was just 1 for 3 today with a walk. Oh, what an off night for Mookie Betts. He's hitting .485 now with an OPS of 1686. It's just ridiculous. And then Ohtani, he'd been the player that had been cold, and he came into this game and launched that home run went 430 feet. He got into a count that was favored to him, and he just blasted that ball. He was 2 for 4, but he's just hitting 270. Then you got Freddie Freeman. He was 0 for 3. When you talk about the Dodgers, if you can silence Betts and Freeman, And I'll throw Will Smith in that. He was 1 for 4. You're doing something right, but then you have to consider that fourth player, and that's what the Dodgers are. So how do you beat the Dodgers? It's a good question. I don't think it's fair that we can try and compare some of the Giants players to the Dodgers right now. The Giants are going to have to play a different brand of baseball than the Dodgers. Dodgers can just outslug everybody, and they can come at you with so many weapons. But maybe that's a good question, is that, how does a team like the Giants beat the Dodgers? Because you have to build up to a potential where you either have to try and chase them down late in the season, or there's the potential for a matchup in a postseason. So are the Giants beat for that chase down, or built for that chase down, or are they built for trying to get the Dodgers in a 5-game series or something like that? I think that's kind of more the mindset of the matchup. Not that you're giving away the division, because it's far too early. There's 162 games. We've gone through 7. There's a lot more baseball to play. But the Dodgers are really good, and you have to beat them with fundamentals, with quality at-bats that stack up, and with solid pitching. And because you're not going to outslug them. And one example of that, in that 4th inning tonight, it was a 4-1 game. It kind of just this moment where Glasnow seemed to be cruising. He gave up that home run to Patrick Bailey. And Wade leads off with a walk, and you're thinking, all right, well, the Dodgers just had a 1-out walk in the 2nd inning where they got an offense that got the run home in that bottom part of the order. You're thinking, okay, well, Wade leads off. Well, then it was Soler looking, strikeout. A wild pitch got Wade to second. Conforto strikeout looking. Chapman strikeout looking. The approach is there in a situation where the game kind of felt like it was teetering at that point. There has to be a little more aggressiveness, has to be a little more assertiveness in those at-bats. And that'll come. Those guys are not going to have years that are up and down and sluggish. Soler's already showing that he's turning it around. Conforto's been excellent, and Chapman's shown his power. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for this Giants team. But how do you match up to the Dodgers? How do you beat this Dodgers team? It's a good question. All right, Rich in Kansas, what do you got for us on KNBR? Rich, are you there? Rich, you're on KNBR.
Yes, I'm here. Hello?
Yes, we got you.
Yeah. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm great.
What have you got for us tonight?
I've been a Giants fan since about '82, and I love the team, and I think they're headed in the right way. It's just going to take some time, and I don't think they necessarily have to compete with the Dodgers. They just have to just be competitive and just do well enough so they can get into the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think they need to get more players that are actually dynamic, and cut these guys that are just really basic and vanilla, like Slater. He's kind of like from that whole freaking Matt Duffy actual, and Nate Holtz.
Sure, yeah.
He's kind of like those types of players. It's just it's like time to move on.
Yeah.
It's like you have guys that are at AAA that are ready to go. I think they're ready, and they're more dynamic.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rich. We appreciate the call. There are some prospects down in the minor league. I mean, and last year kind of was the year for that, right? There were times where, who was on Casey Schmidt? Who was on? Was he on anybody's mind last year at the start of the season? I wouldn't say so. And he came up. Remember, he was kind of the splash for a couple of weeks. Had some great defensive plays. Was swinging a strong bat. Matos could kind of fall in that same category. And that was the year for it. To get some development, to see if these players could turn a corner and get themselves into the starting lineup as a regular, and really Bailey kind of followed that mold, and now he's playing his first full season at the big league level. But as a result of the inability to turn that corner for some of the players, the Giants went out and got some more dynamic players. You can't say that Jorge Soler is not a good signing, and Jung-Hoo Lee was, he's a 9-figure deal. But it's going to take time for those guys, and we can talk about Lee. I think that's another player that he might show flashes here and there of excellence, and we saw some of the glove tonight, I think. But Lee might take some time, and if you compare him to Ha-Seong Kim down in San Diego, Kim had a rough year his first year, and he was an excellent KBO player. And Lee has shown something early. It's great. Hopefully he can sustain that. But I think we're going to have to give some of these players like Lee and some of the younger guys some time. It'd just be nice if guys like Conforto and Soler can continually, and Chapman for that matter, hit the long ball and show that they can provide some consistency in that lineup, which I think is what you're going for. All right, 808 KNBR is the number. We're going to keep going to the phones here tonight. Justin Allegri with you. Ra from San Leandro.
Me next.
Ra, are you there?
No, maybe next.
You're on. You're on. What do you got for us?
Cool.
Is this Ramon?
Yes, this is Ramon.
Ramon, what do you have for us here tonight?
How are you, sir? I was going to ask you. You mentioned that you used to see the players in San Jose. Do you see that Ismael Munguia from Nicaragua? So do you think he's ready to be in the Major League this year?
Say the name again?
Ismael Munguia.
Ismael Munguia. That's a name that I am not familiar with. So are you talking about on this current roster? Is he going to be in San Jose this year?
No, he's playing for Sacramento, AAA Sacramento.
No, that's a name. He's not on the top 30 prospect list. I'd have to do a deeper dive on that one. So, but I don't remember that name in San Jose.
No. So right now he's in AAA, but he was with the Giants last week.
Okay, so I mean, maybe he's a player that we could have as a small impact. I'd have to look up and see kind of more about where he is in the development and what he can do. We appreciate the call, Ramon. Thanks so much. We're gonna go to this is just jackpot. I love it in Las Vegas.
Hey, Viva Las Vegas. Walking through the Bellagio right now. If I see him play, I'll get a shout out.
Oh, there you go.
Anyways, I watched this game at Caesar's Palace and very disappointed in Yaz. I think Yaz should be DFA'd immediately, if not sooner. He looks like a little league kid up there. And he's over. He doesn't have a batting average. And I know a lot of your listeners are probably going to stick up for him because he just fits that mold that 2 callers ago said, vanilla. Like, why don't we have Matos in there? Why don't we have Luciano? Why don't we have anybody? Anybody?
Well,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's frustrating the way that Yastrzemski has started his season, but he is a player that has proven that he could provide a lot of value at the major league level. He's a guy that's had 20 or more home runs a couple of times already with the Giants. And he's one of the more veteran presence that's been here a while. I mean, he's been playing with San Francisco since 2019. So, yeah, it's frustrating to have a start like that where he doesn't have a hit yet. I'm sure he's ticked off about it. He's trying to figure out the best way to provide a little bit more. But Yastrzemski, he's a player that can be versatile. He can play that corner outfield position. You can hit him in various spots in the lineup. But I think you're right in a lot of ways where he's got to be a bat that lengthens that lineup, that provides something either deep or in that 2 spot in the order if he starts to get going. And that's another thing about this lineup. We just talked about the Dodgers kind of penciling them in for their starting 4 at the top of the order. The Giants are not going to be that way this year. They might have to go a route where player 1 is hot for a little while, and that is the player you put in the 2 spot, in the 3 spot. We've already seen multiple players be inserted in that 2 spot in the order. Wade was there tonight, and he worked a couple of walks in that role. The Giants used Soler. They've used a variety of players there already this year. So it is just 7 games. If this kind of trend continues with Yastrzemski, he's not going to get as many at bats, and that's when you kind of look at, all right, what's the sample size in Sacramento for some of those prospects? How are they doing? Are they hot? You want to get them into a spot where they're going to have success coming out of Sacramento, and then you give them that opportunity. I'm not sure the Giants are quite ready to do that just yet. All right, we're going to go to Rosenbag in San Jose.
Hey, how's it going? Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're all right. You're doing good. Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Just picked my wife up from work. I live here in San Jose, so at the Westfield Mall or whatnot. I was just calling because I was wondering what your thoughts were on Bryce Eldridge and I think his name's Maui. And I just want to say that the San Jose Giants field is beautiful. I actually got the chance to play on it for the NABA All-Star game down here, and it was really cool. It's very, very family friendly and homely.
Yeah, it's a fun ballpark. It's one that's been there since the 40s, and that organization does a phenomenal job of providing just kind of that family fun atmosphere down there. So if you've never been to a San Jose Giants game, I highly, highly encourage you to go. You're talking about Maui Ahuna. He's going to be on the San Jose Giants roster this year. He was a player that was drafted in the 4th round last year, 117th overall. What I've heard, and the San Jose Giants have not started their season just yet. They open up on Friday, but Ahuna is an outstanding defensive player. I mean, just plus all around, and the tools in terms of the power and the hitting. And they're coming along. We've seen a lot of those young, talented shortstop middle infielders come through San Jose. Luciano probably leads that list, but Ahuna should be an excellent player, and he's coming out of UCLA. So he'll be fun to watch this year for sure, and certainly. And he's right now, when you just talk about the start of the season, he is listed as the number 10 prospect in the Giants farm system. So that kind of gives you an idea what other scouts are thinking about him and what he's looking like coming this year. And when you talk about Bryce Eldridge, he is young. He's 19 years old. He was the 1st-round pick last year. He was 16th overall, and it'll be our first real chance to see him in a longer stretch this year. And he's rated as the 4th prospect. So if there's reason for optimism from last year's draft, those two guys probably are near the top of the list. And we'll get a chance to see both of those guys in San Jose. So I can't really speak to too much about what they're looking like right now, but give it a month or so, and we'll get an idea. Lots of times those younger players, they'll get that opportunity in San Jose, and if things are going really well, they'll get promoted quite quickly. We've seen some of the major leaguers this year fast-tracked to the big. I mean, Landon Root, he never pitched in AAA. He's a guy that went to the Eastern League and excelled, and now we're seeing him here in San Francisco. Good call. We appreciate it. Phone lines are still open. 808 KNBR. It's a frustrating loss tonight. It is 5-4 to the Dodgers. You don't want to suffer the sweep at the hands of LA, but the Dodgers right now, when they're playing their best ball, they're going to be tough to beat. They're right up there with the Atlanta Braves, and the Dodgers at 7-2 are playing some of their best ball, and they don't even have some of their big time pitchers ready to go or lengthened out, and they don't have Shohei Ohtani is not hitting as he could be. So there's still a long way to go. All right, we're going to go back to the phones. Rob from Santa Cruz.
Mr. Allegri, how's it going tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. Just wanted to call in as a former high school teammate of yours and say congratulations on the hosting of tonight. And
I appreciate that. Yes. My short-lived high school career, like so many of us. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no worries.
What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on this Giants team right now?
I think that we're in a decent place right now, but we're kind of up in arms about the Yaz Slater platoon. And I think that what I would do is, as some of the past callers have said, it's time to bring up Matos. It's time to let Keaton Wynn and Landon Root live in the bullpen and just go with the young guys. And it's time to mix that with what we did in free agency and just kind of see what we have. I think Yaz, I mean, he hasn't hit over 230 since 2020, and it's just, it's been a while since he's been formidable. So
right. Yeah, well, appreciate the call, Rob, from Santa Cruz checking in. It's interesting because if you try to go the route of prospects instead of the platoon, there could be some more excitement there. There could be some value there, but there could be some more frustration too. There could be the lack of just the experience, and you don't want to have growing pains in a season where you're expected to compete for a playoff spot. And that's kind of the balance point right now for this Giants team. Even though it's very early, they want to put the best team on the field that can win them the most ball games. And right now, with Yastrzemski and Slater being part of that, they feel as though that's the best option. Now, does that change over the course of the season? Sure, it could. It could. But at this point, they feel like the best opportunity for this team to have the most success is to have not as many of those younger guys up here trying to go through their growing pains like we saw of last year. And when you talk about this game, I think it's worth to kind of circle back to the last two games for the Giants and these two one-run games. And we can talk more about Kyle Harrison tonight. I think we should, because if you're talking about future for this team, and we've been talking a lot about the younger prospects trying to get in, he is going to be a major part of the future of this team. And we're going to see a lot of growth from him, and he's just 22 years old. And we got to put that in context, because there are not a lot of arms that come out are as lively as his, that has as good stuff as he does at that age. And he showed some promise. He pitched in Dodger Stadium last year too. And I think the more time we see him on the mound, the more he's going to mature, the more he has a guy like Blake Snell around him to kind of mentor that left-handed starting pitcher. And by the way, Snell pitched a simulated game in Dodger Stadium today. He simulated 5 innings, and so that was probably the final tune-up for him, maybe kind of a side day where he'll throw a little bit, but that's the final tune-up for him before he makes his Giants debut on Monday against the Nationals. And that is going to really solidify this starting rotation for the time being until you get Cobb and Robbie Ray. Think about that. Think about the difference in the rotation just from a season ago. You have the reigning Cy Young Award winner, the runner-up in the Cy Young in Logan Webb, and then you have Robbie Ray, who's won a Cy Young, that'll be able to come back later in the season. I mean, I remember years when we had a caller earlier tonight just say he was fed up with the Dodgers. Sure, I think we all are. But this is a Dodgers team that you get fed up because they're really good. It used to be the Dodgers. They always had like 3 or 4 guys. I can't stand that guy. I just can't stand him. And I think every Giants fan, no matter what generation of Giants baseball you've watched and listened to, you've got that first name that comes to mind. And I think a lot of people will say Yasiel Puig is near the top of that list. For me, whatever reason, it was Paul LaDuca. I could not stand Paul LaDuca when the Giants were playing him. But now, I mean, who do you hate on this team? Maybe Muncy? Joe Kelly? Everybody else is. Betts, you loved him when he wasn't in a Dodger uniform. Freeman, you loved him when he was in Atlanta. Ohtani, you loved watching him with the Angels. But it's a Dodgers team that's annoying because they're really, really good, and that's kind of the bottom line. Also because they use those thin white chalk lines around home plate. And I just can't get on board with that. That gets to me all the time. All right, we're going to go back to the phones. 808 KNBR is the number. We're open until midnight. Giants fall tonight 5-4. Michael in Fresno, you're on KNBR.
Yeah, I just think anybody that's panicking at Game 7 is probably kind of a newbie baseball fan. I've been a Giants fan since the early 1960s. There's been some torturous seasons. This Giants team has stayed within 1 run of the Dodgers' massive, monstrous machine. The last 2 games, there's nothing to panic about. A few things fall differently, and the Giants win both of those games. So anybody panicking, especially before, as you mentioned, our full team gets intact, I think is just being stupid. That's all.
I appreciate the call, and it's a great take. And if you've been a Giants fan for that long, you're probably thinking back to the Maury Wills days where he would draw a walk, get a base hit, steal second, bunt him over to third, sacrifice fly, 1-0 Dodger win. And those must have been frustrating years. But you're right. It's 2 one-run losses to a team expected to be in the World Series this year. expected. I mean, they're spending the money. They have the resources. On paper, they are a World Series team. And the Giants, they're still trying to figure out some things and try to sort things out. Remember, there's a lot of new faces on this team that are playing together for the first time. You got a new manager trying to sort that all out. You got bullpen arms. 4 of them have made their major league debuts already this year. It's going to get better with some time, and I agree with you. It's at this point, though, it's the little things that you have to do to beat the Dodgers, the little things. And there were several little things tonight that the Giants could have done to give them that opportunity. And it was the same yesterday as well. And I thought that the Dodgers' approach yesterday against Logan Webb is something that I would like to see the Giants hitters do a little bit more. Take some pitches, work some counts, get deep into counts, kind of wear down those starting pitchers, because Glasnow, he's a guy that's been injured a lot. He's not going to get up to 100 pitches early in a season. So if you could force him to throw high pitch counts, get him out, get into that bullpen, that's the opportunity against the Dodgers, especially in a day that the Dodgers had just thrown the bullpen for the whole game the night before. That was the opportunity. But the Giants, I look back at this game in several moments. The second inning, to me, at the bottom of the second inning, where the Dodgers had Muncy lead off with the walk, Hernandez had the base hit, and it got under the glove of Chapman. And there were a couple of really hard-hit ground balls that got under the glove of Chapman at third base tonight. And they were both base hits, and that kind of tells you mentally where we think already Matt Chapman is defensively. If he doesn't get to a ball that's smashed or that's an above-average play, we're thinking, well, gosh, why didn't he pick that up? That's a ball he gets to. That's how good defensively he is and an upgrade he is at third base. But then it was the ninth place hitter in that inning and the walks turning into runs. And that was really the only inning that Harrison had some command issues in the game. But you can't let the lower part of the lineup beat you for the Dodgers. You can't let the lower part of the lineup set the table for the Dodgers. It's just not a formula for success. And if you're Rojas batting ninth tonight, if you're Miguel Rojas, you are the happiest man in that lineup because you know you're going to get strikes. In a situation where he came up in the fourth inning, 2 outs, of course you're going to challenge the ninth place hitter. You don't want to get him on base in front of Betts, in front of Ohtani, in front of the rest of that lineup. So he knew he was going to get a pitch to hit, and he hit a home run. He crushed it. I mean, but that's kind of the mindset that a guy like Miguel Rojas has. So, look, again, this is a team that is going to have a lot of success this year. This Giants team will have a lot of success, but it's a 5-4 loss, and it's a 2-5 start to the year. Justin Allegri here with you until midnight on Sports Phone KNBR. We're going to go with another call at Jaylee in San Francisco. You're on KNBR.
Oh, thanks for taking my call. Congrats on the Cal job. That's great. You're replacing a legend. We can't replace him, but congrats on that. But I just wanted to shout out Ishmael Munguia. Your last caller, Ramon, was saying, he's a prospect in Sacramento. He's 26, and he's a pretty good hitter. He could come up and impact us. He's a left-handed hitter. I just wanted to shout out to the last caller, Ramon.
Appreciate that, and appreciate the kind words. Thanks so much, Jaylee, from San Francisco. Yeah, there are guys. Look, inevitably, there will be prospects that will be brought up this year. Some of which you'll know. Some of which will just be red hot, and the Giants will take that and try and insert it into a lineup to help them win some ball games. It's going to happen. It happens to every team every year. But at this point in the season, you have to try and at least find out who you are with the team that you broke camp with. And that's what the Giants are trying to do. And it's 2 one-run losses to the Dodgers and a game in which the bullpen gave it up, a game in which the Giants had Luke Jackson get injured. That's the third game you think about in that road trip. And one game got away from him in San Diego. One game got away from him in Los Angeles. But those other 3, they were in. And those are the three swing back in the win column, or one or two of them. You're feeling a lot differently about coming into this homestand against San Diego coming up on Friday. 14 of the Giants' first 23 games are against division opponents. It makes that all the more important, which I think also makes it all the more frustrating when you don't convert on these opportunities early on. It's going to be San Diego, and then they're not going to see him until September. I think that bears repeating. But it still feels like a much different Giants roster this year. I'll even pose the question. We were talking about it here in studio when Jorge Soler hit the home run. When did you see a ball leave the bat like that from a player that you expect to hit home runs? The number that the Giants, and I think everybody has always talked about, the Giants haven't had a home run hitter with 30 or more in a season since Barry Bonds in 2004. Soler's swing of the bat tonight, he looked every bit the part of a 30 home run guy. 452 off the bat, and it came off at 112 miles an hour. That is just what you want to see if you're a Giants fan. All right, we're gonna get to more calls here in a moment. We'll talk about this Giants loss 5-4, but we'll step aside here briefly. More calls coming up. We're with you until midnight. Justin Allegri on Sports Phone KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
3-1 offering. Swinging. There's a high drive. Deep left center field. What a shot. Way back into the night. Adios, pelota. 2/3 of the way up into the pavilion out there in deep left center field. And now it's a 1-run game. For the second night in a row, Soler has gone deep at Dodger Stadium. And this was a home run hitter's homer.
This is Sports Phone KNBR. Dial the digits or send us a text at 415-808-KNBR. We're streaming on YouTube all damn day at KNBR 1045.
Didn't that just sound different coming off of Jorge Soler's bat? The real power hitters on radio, on TV, the crack is just so much louder. And that's what that was. We have it again? Yeah, it's pretty loud. It's pretty good. I mean, it was 112 off the bat. It should be. That is what you love to hear for a team that wants more power, that needs to have more power in the NL West. And that's what they got tonight. And when you talk about, if we're talking about the Giants in the context of those 7 games that we're discussing here, and then the frustrations that the Giants have and the fan base already have this year, we've got to talk about Jorge Soler in the context of his first 7 games too, because he was frustrated in that San Diego series. He hit a home run last night, his first in a Giant uniform. He hadn't hit a home run in spring training. Hit the home run last night. He kind of looked off balance, and he looked kind of upset with himself as he went back into the dugout last night. But the at-bats were getting better. He was getting some more walks in this series. And those swings last night were kind of more upper body type swing. Not tonight. There was a lot of balance there from Jorge Soler. And if he gets hot, the track record with home runs and offensive production is there from Jorge Soler. So if he's just on the cusp of getting hot or feeling like his swing's in the right spot, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this year with Jorge Soler. 808 KNBR is the number. We'll be with you until midnight tonight. Justin Allegri here. 5-4 loss for the Giants. They're swept in L.A. By the Dodgers. We're going to go back to the phone lines now. Greg in Marina. Greg, you're on KNBR.
Hey, Justin. How you doing this evening, man?
I'm doing good, Greg. How are you?
I'm doing great. First off, shout out to Theo Robertson, best color guy that you've had on Cal Basketball Radio. So just wanted to give him a shout out real quick. But wanted to talk first about the development of Kyle Harrison. I like the fact that Bob Melvin has effectively let him sink or swim for the first 2 starts. Not much has been put on him in terms of guardrails. I like the fact that he's just letting him figure it out. And I feel like, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm of the philosophy that if you're going to let a guy go 6 innings in multiple starts and not limit what he can do, that's going to give him a lot more confidence to pitch deeper late into the season. And I feel like for a lot of these young Giants pitchers, it's going to be really important to get their confidence going, but just letting them throw whether they succeed or fail.
I think it's a good point. And again, we have to mention that Kyle Harrison's 22 years old. He's a guy that was pitching in high school not that long ago. Think about that for a second. But made his debut last year late in season. And you're right. I mean, there are players, there are prospects where you can get that sense where there's already trust, there's already confidence, there's already a little bit of swagger to come out, and especially if you're a starting pitcher, to come out onto the mound and just control the game. And I think some of that just has to be handled by getting more experience on the mound. And whether that is good experience and positive outcomes or negative outcomes, you have to have it. And I think this year it's fast-tracked for Harrison because they're showing that confidence in him to allow him to go out there and just be what he is. And I think early on in the game, John and Dave were talking about this early on, that the changeup was being featured more and that Harrison knows that's a pitch that has to get better for him because he's got that fastball velocity from the left side where he can elevate it and kind of change the sight lines to hitters. But if he can develop that changeup into a plus pitch, that's a pitch that can get some ground balls, it can get a strikeout, throw some batters off balance. That's where the 1-2 punch for a young left-hander is really, really impressive. And that just takes time. It does. And he'll figure that out, and he'll talk with the pitching staff. He'll talk with some of the veterans on this group. Talking with a guy like Logan Webb, who throws a lot of stuff with movement, it is great for Harrison. And I think if we were to talk now and kind of document where is Harrison, where is his stuff, what is he looking like as a starting pitcher, and then come back to it in September and see the growth of Kyle Harrison, we're going to see a lot of growth this year. And it's just going to set him up for so much more success in the future for the Giants. Good call from Greg in San Francisco. 808 KNBR is our number. Mark, also in San Francisco, wants to talk about defense. Mark, you're on KNBR.
Yeah, you got me, Justin?
I got you, yeah.
Okay, awesome, man. Hey, look, all this talk about, Michael from Fresno stole my point about relaxing, but what we have to remember is that this team was 2 years ago, real stat here, 29th in defensive run saves out of 30 teams. And they led the league, the entire Major League Baseball, in traditional errors last year. You got 25-year-old center fielder. You got Mike Yastrzemski, who's more of a glove than perhaps a bat. You signed Matt Chapman for the glove more than anything else. You got rid of Brandon Crawford, who couldn't do it anymore, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Patrick Bailey throws out a guy trying to steal tonight. I mean, the defense is what's going to come around before the pitching, before the bats. Let's all just kind of relax here and be glad that the front office improved something that was a huge deficit over the last 2 years.
I agree. And it was something, if you want to make a playoff, if you want to be in that top level in September, the defense has to be a big part of that. Obviously, you have to hit, you have to pitch. But the way that the Giants played defense, or lack thereof, last year, it wasn't helping them. And so we saw tonight where Jung-Hoo Lee was running down balls in center field with excellent first steps. And he almost overran a ball to deep center field. He had to kind of square his shoulders back for it because he puts his head down and he gets to a spot. It's just disciplined and fundamentals. And what that allows the rest of the outfield to do is you move guys that were playing center field last year into the corner outfield spots, and you get a little more better defensively in the outfield. And then you go to Chapman. I mean, he's a Gold Glover. It goes without saying. That's just a major upgrade over there. I encourage you to watch Chapman when he warms up, when he just plays catch, when he's in games and he's making throws. His throws are at the chest every time to first base. And every time he throws to second to start a double play, it's to the proper spot of the bag, right on the shoulder, inside or outside, wherever he needs it to be. I mean, it is precise. And that in itself lends it to more success over 162 games. It just does. So I agree. It's a good point. Last year, they were in the bottom tier of defensive runs saved. League average was on the positive side. The Giants were minus 15 last year in defensive runs saved. So that's too small of a sample size to dive into this year, but it will be a better number this year for the Giants defensively. 808 KNBR is the number. Giants swept by the Dodgers in L.A. 5-4 the loss. Off day tomorrow for the Giants, and then they will start the home portion of their season against the Padres on Friday. Brian in Fresno, he's been waiting a while. Brian, you're on KNBR.
How you doing, Justin?
I'm doing well, Brian. I'm doing well.
I know we're 7 games into the season, but I'm a Dodger fan, but I like listening to you guys on KNBR. But let's talk about standings. I know it's 2-5 this season for the Giants. Is the NL West the battle for second place of how strong the Dodgers are with their lineup and bullpen?
I mean, a Dodgers fan would say that. We're 7-2 is not that's not going to win the division. But look, the Dodgers, again, I said this a little bit earlier, the Dodgers are expected to win the division, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. Who knows? Health is a big part of that. Guys can go down. There can be teams that got – I mean, if we sat here in April last year and said, oh, the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to make the World Series, you probably would have laughed at me. It's 162 games, and you have to play all of them. And look, the Dodgers, sure, they're the odds-on favorite. The Atlanta Braves are the odds-on favorite in the East. Everybody thinks they're going to meet in the championship. One of them will go to the World Series, but you have to play the games, Brian.
Yeah, I know it's exactly what you mean. I mean, with these tight losses for the Giants, does that mean will these losses in the early season come back to haunt San Francisco in the later part of the season, like in August and September?
Yeah, I hope not. Thanks for the call, Brian. We appreciate it. I hope we're not in September thinking back, gosh, that game in L.A. when the Giants lost 5-4 in early April. Oh, man. Was that a backbreaker for the season? I hope not. Because if we're doing that, we're really in the weeds of this Giants season. I hope not. I hope not. There's a lot more to play. There's a lot more on the line. The Dodgers are going to, they're going to go through their ups and downs. I think they always do. The question, though, for the Dodgers is, how are they going to be playing in late September, and what is it going to look like for them going into October? Because they can be a team that wins 110 games in the regular season. And every player on that Dodger roster is going to have it in the back of their mind. Well, every year we get into the postseason, and every year it's a challenge for us. It's tough. It's tough. But if you're the Giants, you have to try and get into that conversation late in the season and then try and be that team that puts those negative thoughts into the Dodgers' mind in the postseason. And that's something I think the Giants can do. The Giants could beat them in a 5-game series, 7-game series. There's no question about that. They got enough offense to do that. They've got enough pitching that could counter those hitters. They've got enough left-handed pitching that could make the Dodgers struggle a little bit in a must-win type situation. So yeah, I don't think we're going to be thinking back to this a while. Don in San Francisco wants to talk about the Giants-Dodgers series. You're on KNBR.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well.
Well, I hope it's not going to be a repeat from last season, my friend. I just hope it's not going to be a repeat this year. It's like something's like people like me getting kind of nervous. We lost, we're like at 2-5. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and you're talking about just overall wins and losses, and
yeah,
I really don't see that. I think you can look at this and say the Giants played two of the best teams in the division, certainly the best team or one of the best teams in baseball. And look, the Padres, we need to talk more about them because they're going to be a threat too. So it's not that the Giants went down and played two teams that aren't expected to be playoff contenders. They played two top-tier teams. They lost two by a single run to the Dodgers. They had a lead that the bullpen couldn't hold in one game against the Padres, and they split that Padres series in a 4-game set. You split your road games, you're all right. You're feeling okay about your season, and that's a formula to win. I don't see that. I think there's so many more weapons and so much more depth, and I think especially the depth in the starting pitching. Don't you think, Don, that the starting pitching just in general is going to be far and away better to make it over the course of 162 games? Flip onto the Giants side a few more.
What I'm hoping for these latest Snow, we didn't see him pitch yet in this other Alice Cobb and this other pitch they got. You got 3. Didn't see him pitch yet. Well, it might be something we can change this season. Something can change here. Something can change with this pitching. Something can change.
Yeah, I agree. Don, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. You look at the starting pitching. Webb. Like he struggled in spring training, and you hoped that wouldn't translate and come over into the regular season. Good start in San Diego. He was visibly upset yesterday, and I think a lot of that had to do with what the Dodgers' just approach in general was to Logan Webb yesterday. And they've seen enough of him already to kind of understand what they need to do against him. But he's going to be an excellent top end of the rotation arm. He may be kind of fighting through a few things here and there to start the season, but he's going to figure it out. He's a professional. He's a veteran for this team. Harrison, we've talked about enough. I think one of the great stories from spring training was Jordan Hicks. Everybody thinks of him as a bullpen arm, and he was. But that game in San Diego, he was filthy in that game in San Diego. And there was nothing that he was throwing that was straight. And it was hard. And look, he's not throwing 102 miles an hour like he can because he's sustaining it or trying to over the course of 5 or 6 innings. But his stuff was excellent. If you can have him as a third starter early in the season, and oh, by the way, you're going to get a Cy Young Award winner in Blake Snell coming up. Those 4 right there are out. I'll put those 4 up against anybody else in the National League. I mean, why not? Those are 4 excellent, excellent players. And then, Cobb, I think he's way ahead of schedule for his recovery. Had the left hip surgery in the offseason. He's way ahead of schedule, so you'll get him back. And then you have Robbie Ray, who's a former Cy Young Award winner. And then you've got a good problem to have about who you try and go with. If that is a true 6-man starting rotation. I mean, and then Keaton Winn, he was good too. So you insert him into the bullpen, make him a long man. He was that split finger that Keaton Winn has. Whew, man, that's nasty. And if he can figure out the repertoire around that, or even if he doesn't, and he's just a 1 or 2 inning guy out of the bullpen because those other guys in the starting rotation come back, that splitter is going to get outs. It's going to be tough. So I think just in general, everything else aside, in terms of the wins and losses, the Giants' pitching depth is one thing that is just vastly different from a season ago, and a major upgrade. And it allows for things to happen because inevitably they will. Someone will go down for several weeks. Someone will need some rest. But it allows for that depth to not have any fall off in the season when somebody does miss some time. And that's kind of what was a little frustrating when you saw Dalton Jeffries have to come up, just because the way that the rotation at the start of the year, it just didn't pan out the way that they wanted it to go in the first series. But that's not going to be the case moving forward. You're not going to see a lot of bullpen-type days or spot starts this year from the Giants starting pitching staff. That's just not going to be the case. All right, 808 KNBR is our number. Justin Allegri with you until midnight tonight. Giants fall tonight 5-4 to the Dodgers, get swept in L.A. They'll have the off day tomorrow and then come home to start a series against the San Diego Padres. We'll step aside once again here on Sports Phone KNBR. We'll keep taking your calls when we come back. KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
2-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. And that was another changeup. So that's pretty cool to see Harrison striking out Ohtani with a changeup.
It's a great sign because that's the pitch that I think he needs the most work on. Kyle said he's been very comfortable with his slider. We know how great his fastball is.
His stuff was good. Got behind, gave up some runs, obviously the second and the third. Made him throw some pitches, and that's what they do. So to bring him out for the sixth probably wasn't a good idea at the time. At some point in time, he'll get there. But, they clipped him a little bit for some runs. And obviously we were behind when he came out.
Sound off on the sports leader. Sports Phone KNBR keeps rolling right here and on the all-new KNBR app.
Voice you heard there was Bob Melvin in the loss, 5-4. Giants fall to the Dodgers and are swept from Chavez Ravine in L.A. Justin Allegri back with you on Sports Phone KNBR. Still taking your calls up until midnight tonight. 808 KNBR is the number. We've got a couple of callers waiting. We'll get to those in a moment. But just to kind of circle back on that Kyle Harrison comment from Bob Melvin, could he have gone into the sixth inning? Probably. But again, you don't want to set him up for further problems down the line. You want to try and manage that, I think, early on in the season, the way they did. And the problems that Harrison had in this game, especially, I think back to that second inning mostly, where the walks turned into runs. And you can't let that lower part of the lineup beat you, and that's what happened. But then that command refinement kind of snapped back for him. But it was a couple of at-bats in that third inning. The Will Smith RBI double, that was on an 0-2 pitch. So maybe too much strike zone after trying to swing it back from the command issues he had in the second inning. And then Hernandez kind of muscled that single on the first pitch that he saw. And it was the ninth place hitter in Rojas tonight. That home run in the fourth inning felt like a really, really big one. And that inning could have been a quick inning for Kyle Harrison, and it was a 2-out home run. It felt like, all right, here we go. Harrison snapping back. Maybe the Giants can try and get the bats going, and the ninth place hitter comes up and hits the home run. So Harrison tonight just went the 5 innings. The bullpen, the rest of the way, Eric Miller with a scoreless sixth inning. Taylor Rogers, he came on in that seventh inning. Shohei Ohtani got him for the home run, but that was the first home run that Taylor Rogers had given up to a left-handed batter since 2021. Think about that. What? In 3 years. And it was because he fell behind in the count to Shohei Ohtani, and that's what good hitters will do. And then Tyler Rogers after that, he was up in the zone with got that ground ball double play from Kike Hernandez in the eighth inning. Giants, though, lose tonight 5-4. 808 KNBR. Phone lines are open until midnight. Johnny in San Jose has been waiting a while. Johnny, you're on KNBR.
Yeah, it's a long season, brother. 160 games. You know that. It's a brutal. I'm a USC guy, so I know LA. I know Dodger Stadium. We got to think long term. All you got to do is get into the wild card, get into, right? That's what the Giants got to think. I just think Farhan and these guys are retards because Ohtani, I'm throwing something at you. Ohtani's not the number that it was. And the people, it's what he's advertising, right, into Asia, into everything. The Giants aren't thinking long term, and that's what I'm saying. The season's a long term. Get what I'm saying here? Yeah, you got to think long term.
Yeah. The season is a long term situation. I mean, but look, some of the signings I think are long term. I mean, Jung Hoo Lee, he's on a 6-year deal. That's pretty long term.
Everyone's got to stop thinking, right? Think of the NBA. You got to think like Ohtani, where the Dodgers are genius. They're not thinking short term. Like you think of a stadium. You and I grew up Pac Bell Park. We call it, right? There was the old park. You've got to. This is where no one's thinking this, right? Get what I'm saying here. We got to think long term. And I'm telling you, don't get mad. And I said it. I'm the only guy. Everyone, when the 49ers, whatever they said about the coach at the 49ers, I go. The coach at the 49ers needs to have Bochy. Bochy, Bruce is the genius of, he would tell you when he was back in San Diego, he didn't know how to coach a team in baseball. He later learned, oh, I'm at the Giants, right? Every game, every inning mattered. How do we get to the playoffs? That's where they've got to think. Get what I'm saying here at Silicon Valley. Think NVIDIA. Think, right, Jensen Huang. Play the long ball. Get what I'm saying here at Silicon Valley. Tech, baseball. Think of long term. Who are we going to get? The Giants, no one panicked. No one panicked. You guys are the best. Get what I'm saying here?
Yeah, and thanks for the call, Johnny. We appreciate it. I think this is kind of a year where the foundation of a longer term is being built. You have some core players that I think you like to have come back. They're back. But the turnover, I mean, you have to think that this is a decision for the long term in the turnover that they have. New manager. And by the way, how good is it to see Matt Williams back in a Giants uniform? When you talk about long term, that's a former manager and a former great Giant coming back to try and improve this ball club and improve the organization in the long run. And that's what Bob Melvin's going to do. I think you're seeing more situational at bats. You're seeing some different kind of ways of thinking about how to approach games. And you just mentioned, he mentioned Bruce Bochy there for a second. I mean, part of what made Bruce Bochy so successful, it was that old school mentality where maybe he didn't want to go with the analytics as much, and maybe he wanted to go a little bit by feel, and he wanted to play the matchup, and he wanted to make sure that he put the best hitters in the lineup against a certain starting pitcher to see some success. And it worked. It worked 3 times, and it worked so well that he went down to Texas and implemented it again and got another ring. I think it's going to be, it's a long season, and I think the moves that are being made are the foundation to the rest. And when you talk about long-term, Jung-Hoo Lee's on a 6-year deal, and his opt-out's not until 2027. Now, there are other players with opt-outs, and there are other players on shorter terms, and I think maybe that's what the thought was about the lack of thinking long-term. But I think those types of short-term signings or signings with the opt-out, one, that's kind of way that the free agent market's trending now, where you have guys holding out for the best possible number, and when they don't get it, they're going to have to force themselves to go with something in an opt-out clause where they can do that. And Blake Snell's in that boat. Chapman the same way. But in the way of thinking it for the Giants' perspective, when they have some young talent, we've talked a lot tonight about players that could be coming up, that should be making a move to the major leagues to see what they can do. Well, isn't it nice to know that maybe if these guys or a player opts out, you do have those players in the minor leagues, and you don't have to put all the pressure on them to come up and perform right now? That's kind of hedging the bet for the long term. I think there is some long-term thinking going on right now for the Giants, and I think ultimately we're going to see a better result this season because of it. First 7 games, it's not the case, especially in the win-loss column, but things are moving in the right direction, that's for sure. All right, back to the phones. Mike in Turlock, you're on KNBR.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention something you touched on with the hitting. I want to go back to the 3 World Series when the Giants did not have a 30 home run hitter in any of those seasons, and they wore those great pitchers like Cliff Lee and Justin Verlander out with steady, fundamental at-bats and outstanding fundamental defense. That's what won them 3 World Series. I think it has just as much potential this year.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll even throw in, the big part of those World Series teams were the bullpens. You got 6 innings from some of those starters, and you went into the bullpen, and it was pretty much a foregone conclusion that they were going to hold whatever line it was. But you're right. I mean, that's a formula to doing so. And I'll even throw it out to you. One of the best seasons ever for the Giants, that 2021 season. There wasn't a 30 home run hitter that year, but there was more balance. And I think that's what this team can provide. It can provide more balance. You know, maybe Soler goes off for 30 home runs. That would be lovely. We would all like that. But there's a lot more balance to this lineup than there was a season ago. You don't have to have a one guy hitting 40 bombs, but it'd be nice to have 4 or 5 hitting 20.
I agree.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Mike. We appreciate it. All right, 808 KNBR. Phone lines open until midnight tonight. 5-4 loss to the Dodgers in L.A. We're going to go back to San Jose. Nick in San Jose, you're on KNBR.
Hey, thanks for taking the call. Listen, I could sit here and complain about we have no stolen bases or we're striking out too much and we're giving up a lot of home runs, but I just want to follow up on a comment you said. This is the year that they're going to, we care again. I didn't care about the teams I used to go to 10, 15 games a year. Last 4 years, I went to 1. But now I'm like, all right, so this is where they're going to put 6 years into in center field? Okay, wow, okay. Webb's doing his thing. I'll always go to those games if I can. But to me, I could, hopefully they make the wild card. But if I'm interested in July, August, September, then I'm going to be happy because I care. And that's where I think they're trying to do. And I'm going to give them credit. I don't give them a lot of credit. I'm the most negative fan there's ever been. But you know what? If they're gonna give me something, then I'm gonna go to the game. I'm going to the game this Saturday because I care again. And I think that is something. There's a lot of passion going on right now, and I think it's great because people are starting to care again because you know who you're gonna see start. You know that there's not gonna be this oh, I might start this person, I might not start this person. Anyways, I just want to follow up on that. I think it's gonna be a fun year no matter what. Win or draw, because at least I got something to look forward to because they have a plan.
Yeah.
They finally have a plan.
All right, good call, Nick. Thanks so much for joining us. It's a good point because I think Giants fans the last few years were begging the organization to spend some money. This was a group that had the money to spend. And look, was it frustrating when you miss out on some of the high level free agents? Yeah, I mean it is. It's tough to not see guys like Judge or Harper or Ohtani decide to come to San Jose or to San Francisco, but they put an exciting team on the field and they did it. And that's the other thing. If we're having a conversation a month and a half ago, a month ago, I don't think we're feeling as excited about this team because you don't have Snell, you don't have Chapman. There were some moves. They were good. You're feeling like it was moving in the right direction. But now, wow. Now the length in the lineup is better. The starting rotation depth is better. And it goes back to the comment we made earlier, expectations for this team now. It's frustrating to see the sweep early on in the year because you expect more from this team now. And that's a good thing. It means that they're doing the right things to make themselves more competitive. And it's good to hear a fan come in and say, well, yeah, it wasn't interesting to me the last couple of years. And that's a fair point. But it's going to be interesting this year. There's going to be some great moments, some exciting players this season. And we just have to give it that time. 808 KNBR, the number. Scarecrow from Sacramento, you're on KNBR.
Howdy. I've got a chance to watch them in San Diego and L.A. I think the big difference between the Dodgers and the Giants is their core has been together now almost 4 years. Giants look like they're still trying to put the pieces together. They're really intriguing and very interesting pieces. But I would say give them about another 30 days, and you might not recognize that ball club. Yep. Up till recently, you didn't even know who your shortstop was going to be. Never mind the fact that you've got a couple of new pitchers and stuff that's going to take a while to gel. That being said, they could be a very, very entertaining and interesting ball club.
Yeah, I think we were talking a little bit earlier about some of the versatility in the starting lineup. And, would you love a starting 5 or 6 that you could pencil in every day, 1 through 6, or some small adjustments here and there? Yeah, it'd be great. But this is a team, the way it's built, you can have some shifting in the lineup. You can put Jorge Soler, if he's hot, in that 2 or 3 spot. Conforto, I mean, he was hitting 6, I think, the start of the year in San Diego, but he catches fire. He's up in that cleanup spot. I think that versatility, when you talk about maybe some of these guys aren't perennial all-stars. They're not going to be guys that are breaking records or leading the league in home runs or RBIs or batting average. But collectively, if you can use that lineup like Bob Melvin will this year to your advantage when guys are going well, there's going to be a solid starting 6 on the field night in and night out. It'll look different. It'll look in a different order, but it's going to be exciting nonetheless.
Well, I think a lot of things that the fans don't necessarily understand is for a lot of years, that Giant infield, you knew who was going to be at first base. You knew who was going to be at third base. You knew who was going to be at short. You knew those guys, and there's a certain stability that comes from playing together for a while. And that's pretty much what these guys lack right now.
Yeah.
Like I said, give another 30 days. I think you're going to be mildly surprised.
Yeah, that's a good point. Scarecrow, thanks for the call. It's something that, you think back to some of the better Giants teams the last couple of decades. He's right. Rich Aurelia, shortstop. Jeff Kent, second base. JT Snow, first base. Pencil it in. That's what it was. Yeah, and then Crawford, shortstop. Brandon Belt, first base. Buster Posey, catcher. Pencil. That's what it was. We haven't seen that consistency. And maybe he's right. Maybe in a month's time now, we'll be saying Chapman, third base. We'll figure out if Wilmer Flores is going to be a consistent bat in the lineup. We'll figure out if Conforto is going to be the guy he has been here early on. If Soler is going to continue to show that he can be that player that is the 30 home run guy the Giants brought him in to be at the designated hitter position. We'll see if Jung-Hoo Lee continues to develop. And I say develop, he is a veteran in every sense of the word, because he has put in his time in the Korean League and now is getting a chance to show it at the major league level. But still, I mean, I think there's an adjustment period for him. How he handles some of the major league pitching he's seeing. I can't remember what the note was, but he had not seen a lot of pitches over, I think, 96 miles an hour very much in Korea. And now he's seeing it almost night in and night out. And Carlos Ramirez was talking with Papa and Lunda a couple of days ago that Jung-Hoo Lee had seen 95 pitches this year. And this was, I think, prior to the Tuesday game against the Dodgers. And he'd swung and missed 3 times. I mean, that's remarkable for a rookie player against pitching that he's never seen. I mean, in the Korean League, you may face a former major leaguer or a guy that's got major league potential, but not night in and night out. And the bat-to-ball skills that Lee has shown early on, couple that with, by the way he hustles, which he's going to leg out some infield singles just because he gets out of the box, he puts his head down, and he runs hard. And that's going to translate to some positive things for him. But there's going to be some growing pains for him, I think. I think that adjustment might take some time. And I said it earlier tonight that Ha-Sung Kim, you could probably, and I think it's a fair comparison, they were teammates in the KBO, and he went to San Diego as a highly touted player that was signed, but he hit .202 his first year when he was 25 years old. And since then, he's uprooted Fernando Tatis for the shortstop position. Oh, well, we'll move him to the outfield and we'll sign Xander Bogaerts. He'll play shortstop. No, we're going to put Ha-Sung Kim over at shortstop still because he's been that good. But it took him some time. And it could be that for Jung-Hoo Lee. We don't know, but it could be. But remember, he was also injured majority of last year in the KBO. So I think he might be the only guy that you say he's going to be the starting center fielder and the leadoff hitter for as many games as he can be on the field this year. And that might be the one guy you pencil in because he can provide that, first of all, the defense, but the bat-to-ball skills to get himself on base in front of the other guys. 808 KNBR, we're with you until midnight tonight. The Giants fall 5-4 to the Dodgers. 2 one-run losses to the rivals, and now they'll have the off day tomorrow and then get started at home. It'd be nice to see this team at Oracle Park this year against the San Diego Padres coming up on Friday, and part of that homestand will be the debut of Blake Snell on Monday. But 3 more games first against the San Diego Padres. Vince in Daly City, you're on KNBR.
Hey, good evening. Just started listening to the evening show here, getting off work, and stoked to hear you guys are fired up about the Giants. I mean, I know I am, and echoing that gentleman who was talking about getting excited about the team again. I mean, it's funny because getting all these new players, I mean, certainly is a draw, especially for me, fired up watching international players, get signed to the team and all that.
Who are you most excited about from this team?
It's funny seeing Matt Chapman come, from the Blue Jays. He was on the A's. It's like, I'm fired up about that guy. I mean, an amazing infielder. I mean, Gold Glove status. So it's great. And then obviously the 25-year-old out of Korea. I mean, what an amazing freaking talent that we landed. So excited to see him and grow in the team and in the organization. And I mean, so excited to go to opening day this Friday for sure.
Yeah, have fun out there. Should be a good time. Thanks for the call, Vince. He brings up Chapman, and we talked about him defensively. I think was it last night? It might have been the night before, where Kruk and Kuip were talking about the comparison in the approach from Chapman to Jeff Kent. And if you're comparing Jeff Kent, I mean, that's some good things to look at. But if you watch him with that lens, the way he just kind of stands in the box, the way he holds his hands, the way he kind of moves around in the box a little bit, the bent arm swing that he has, the way he can get the bat barrel through the zone very quickly and direct to the ball, it's going to lead to some success. And I thought it was a good comparison. Now, look, maybe the batting average might not be as much. Maybe the strikeouts are a little bit higher, but that's more modern ball too. But Chapman's going to be fun to watch this year. And that was a kind of an interesting comparison. If you can think about that the next time you watch Chapman at the plate, I thought that was kind of fun to compare to with Jeff Kent. So Giants fall tonight, 5-4, the loss to the Dodgers. The bright spots tonight, though, and one player that we really haven't talked too much about this evening, but Patrick Bailey with that home run. I don't think a lot of Giant fans are thinking of a ton of offense coming from Patrick Bailey, but he's got the capabilities to do it. He can be a solid bat in this lineup. I think, obviously, the value from him is his defense, his ability to throw out base stealers or would-be base stealers. And he's one of the best in the game already at framing pitches and stealing strikes. And it wasn't as much of that from him tonight. I think it was kind of a small zone from Tony Randazzo tonight. But Patrick Bailey, how many memes or Instagram videos or GIFs, whatever you want to call them, have you seen where it's a ball, it's out of the strike zone, but the work he's done to position himself to frame pitches and steal strikes, and now he's getting to work with Webb and Snell and Hicks. It's just going to lead to more and more success from that side. So whatever you can get offensively from Patrick Bailey is an absolute positive and a plus. And he's already got 4 hits against right-handed pitching this year, which was kind of something that you questioned from him last year. But it hit the home run tonight. It launched off his bat. And I think Patrick Bailey, if he's a guy we're talking about in the 7, 8, or 9 spot in the lineup, you're feeling pretty good about the way this offense is performing. And even if Yastrzemski and Estrada continue to struggle, Yastrzemski doesn't have a hit yet this year. Estrada didn't get on base in that Dodger series. Those guys need to get going. But if Patrick Bailey is a guy that's hitting, and he doesn't have to hit 280, but if he's down there with 260 batting average and hits 12 to 15 home runs, you're going to be feeling very good about this lineup and the depth of this lineup from them. So Giants fall tonight. They'll have the off day tomorrow. Then they'll start the home portion of their schedule on Friday. We'll take another break here. We're with you until midnight tonight. Justin Allegri on Sports Phone KNBR. We'll get to more calls when we come back. This is KNBR 104.5 and 680, the Sports Leader.
The website, by the way, for that youth baseball day on Sunday, sfgiants.com/promotions. Now a swing and a drive, deep right field. Hernandez back, and it is gone into the bleachers. Patrick Bailey. He crushed that one, his first home run of the year. And with one swing, the Giants have tied the game. It's 1-1.
Speak your mind on the sports leader. Sports Phone KNBR keeps coming at you. Streaming live at twitch.tv/the sports leader.
Patrick Bailey's a man of the people. He got the youth promo in on his home run call. How about that? Yeah, that's the way to go. Make sure you get both on the home run. His first of the year. It was a good moment in this game, but the Giants do lose tonight 5-4, swept by the Dodgers. Now they'll come home and take on the Padres. First of a 3-game series coming up on Friday afternoon baseball to start the season on the home portion of the year for the Giants. But right now, the Giants, they're still feeling like they've got better ball to play. We've got just a little more time here. We'll take you till midnight tonight. Justin Allegri with you. 808 KNBR, the number if you'd like to chime in about this game tonight or about the first road trip of the season and the outlook ahead for this Giants team. Chardell, you're in Fremont. You're on KNBR.
So as a Giants fan, I mean, the Giants are a really great baseball team, but I knew the Dodgers would come out with this type of intensity in this game because they got Chris Taylor, they got Mookie Betts, they got Will Smith, Freddie Freeman. I mean, they got a good lineup. The Dodgers got a really stacked lineup. So I was kind of expecting that they would sweep us in this game because we were trying to play our heart and come out and play with that fire, but it was just not working for us. The Giants sometimes they have great games, sometimes they don't have great games. So I just want to see us bounce back in the next series. Whichever opponent we face next, let's just come out with that fire. Because I know this team has a lot of that in them, and I know they can fire on all cylinders, but. When you don't see a team capitalize, it just really depresses your mood because you're just saying the Giants are this team that has been winning 3 championships and they're just really good. I mean but I'm an optimistic type of guy and I know this team will go far even though today wasn't their day.
Yep. I am too.
It didn't really work out today, right? Today was not the day that the Giants. We're going to have their mojo, right?
That's right. And we appreciate the call. There will be more days. And, that's the other thing, to look at the grand picture here. The Dodgers have all the money on the field. They have all the talent. They have all the expectations. But they've still only got the one World Series ring in the last, whatever it is, 30-something years. The Giants figured out ways to do that without having to go out and sign major contracts and commit all this money, and some of it, a lot of it is deferred money. But that just kind of tells you where the Dodgers are. They want to win some more hardware, and they want to do it now, even if they have to pay for it later. And that's where this team is. But you're right that the Giants, they can hang with them, and they can be a thorn in their side. And they can be a team that potentially could knock them off in the playoff. We don't know. We got a lot of time left to try and figure that out. So we appreciate the call. Giants and Dodgers, they'll see each other once a month here. That's it. That's also part of the odd part of the scheduling now in Major League Baseball. We talked about the Padres coming to town and that they won't see them until September. But the Giants and Dodgers, they'll consistently see each other every month here, and then they won't in August or September. So time to get them, the opportunities to get them are right at hand. And so that makes this 3-game series all the more challenging to kind of swallow right now because you didn't cash in on a couple of opportunities in one-run ball games. You didn't play some of your best ball early. And out of the gates, the Dodgers are playing exceptional. And if they're at that top tier, they're going to be a hard team to beat, but they will have their moments where they start to dip, and that's where teams can get them. And that's just not one of those moments in this series for the Dodgers. 5-4 the final score tonight. The Giants with the loss to Los Angeles. We'll go back to the phone lines now. Mike in San Francisco, you're on KNBR.
Hi, I just wanted to welcome you home and say Falte Abalier. Just Gaelic, you're welcome home.
I appreciate that. I thank you very much. Yeah, it's been fun for me. We've had some good calls tonight. I think the reason we've had some good calls tonight because there's some excitement from the fan base, and there was one call in particular that talked about that. I think genuinely this fan base is so connected to the Giants, and they so desperately wanted a team to show out and be proud of, and to puff your chest out and say, these guys I'm excited about. I want to go to the ballpark. I want to see them play top-tier opponents. And that's what's on the field right now. So, Mike, I feel that pride. And when the fan base has that much pride, this is a really fun organization, fun team to watch, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. The Giants tonight, 5-4 loss to the Dodgers. We can kind of look ahead now to the next opponent, which we can look ahead or we can look back just a few games. It's going to be the Padres, and Giants and the Padres familiar with themselves now. It'll be Jordan Hicks on Friday. That's the home opener for the Giants. That's a 1:35 first pitch. Then Saturday at 6:05, Keaton Winn gets the ball again for the Giants, and that'll be followed by Logan Webb. Remember that off day helps because you don't have to have that spot in the rotation where you need a spot starter or have to figure out a bullpen type day for the Giants. And then the Washington Nationals come to town, and we get to see for the first time in a Giant uniform Blake Snell. And I think conversations will start after that game too about what Blake Snell brings to the table, because I think last year it might not have been certain that he was the Cy Young Award winner midway through the season. And his numbers were consistent. And look, he walks. The walk totals were kind of high last year, but he was every bit of the Cy Young Award winner for that San Diego roster last season. And it was him and Logan Webb. And those were the two that got the bulk of the votes, and it was Snell that won it. And now those two will be pitching back-to-back for the Giants. And what's not to be excited about that in this next homestand? So Giants, look, we need to maintain this optimism for the Giants for a little bit longer. Give them the opportunity to show what they are and what they can be for the next 4 or 5 months. And then we'll really get a sense of what this team can be, especially if you see some other opponents that aren't expected to be highest level in the National League. The Giants going 2-2 in San Diego and then dropping all 3 in L.A. And again, we would feel a little bit different if the Giants won one of those games in Los Angeles, took 3 of 4 in San Diego. Just feel a lot better, but still a lot of reason to be excited for this team. All right, back to the phone lines now. 808 KNBR is the number. We're here just a bit longer here on Sports Phone KNBR. Ed is in Danville. What do you got for us, Ed?
Maybe we should have walked Betts a couple times, or maybe walk Ohtani, because just like that Bonds got walked year after year after year.
Yeah,
or is that taking the easy way out?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that is you walk Betts. Okay, I can see that. He's batting .485 in the young season. He's just an absolute weapon. He's a giant killer at this point. Great. Walk Mookie Betts. Well, then you face the MVP after him. Okay. You get through him, you face a former MVP after him in Freddie Freeman. Okay. Get through Freddie Freeman, and it's Will Smith who's hitting .406. So I understand that thought, pitch around Mookie Betts, but there's just too many weapons after that.
Yeah, but if Ohtani's going to hit 60 home runs like he could.
Well, maybe just walk the first 3, and then we'll just figure it out from there.
Yeah, and then we put 2 on, and then somebody else hits a home run or a double, and then the rest is history, right?
Yeah, you just have to hope that one, you have to hope that those 3 guys or 4 guys don't all get in sync at once, because that'll just be unfair. And you have to hope that you can get 2 of them kind of in a spot where you feel like you can get outs, because right now you don't get 2 outs in those 4. And there may be a point in the season where you do, but right now you go to that top of the order and there's base runners on. It's almost certain they're going to score some runs. And the other point, the Dodgers have scored 5 runs or more in every game this year. No Dodger team ever has done that through 9 games. And I think it was 2 games ago that when they scored 7 games in a row, 5 or more, they hadn't done that since 1890, something like that, when they first joined the National League. So we're going to get ludicrous numbers from the Dodgers this year.
You mean they scored less than 5 runs, or they
5 or more in every game? The Dodgers.
5 or more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we were all Danville with Kyle. We were all hoping he'd have gone 7 innings, maybe give it up 1 run. One run. Well, that didn't work out.
Yeah, and we appreciate the call. Kyle he'll have his time. He will. He's a very, very talented young pitcher, and at 22 years old, if we're talking about him facing this lineup the way he did tonight, and he takes the loss, but there were some positives there for him, and he's gonna remember some of the at bats, remember some of the pitches that he threw, remember how he wants to attack some of those Dodger hitters, and he's going to apply that the next time he faces this lineup. And all of that index that Kyle Harrison is putting together at the age of 22, every year thereafter, he'll go back and dig something out and say, I remember how I did this. I remember how I needed to approach this hitter. I remember I shouldn't throw this guy this certain pitch. I should go inside. I should go outside. That's all going to start to flow for him. So if he can build that Rolodex now with Webb and Snell and Hicks around him, it's going to be fun for Kyle Harrison for a long, long time. Giants dropped the game tonight 5-4. The final score over the Dodgers, 2-5 on the road trip. Couple of 1-run losses for the Giants in Dodger Stadium, and then they split the games in San Diego. Again, looking ahead to the homestand. A 135 start. Get out to Oracle Park, folks. I mean, we've had enough calls tonight for reason to be very excited. So Giants will have that 135 start on Friday. That's the home opener. It'll be Jordan Hicks on the mound, then Keaton Wynn the next day at 6:05 and 1:05 on Sunday. Logan Webb. The Giants will not see the Padres until September. All right, good calls tonight. We appreciate it on Sports Phone KNBR. Giants will be back at home on Friday for Raf Corral. This is Justin Allegri. Thanks for tuning in tonight on Sports Phone KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
I've had it with Max Muncy.